Hey guys, welcome to my first video. This is MMA Boss Breakdown, where I bring you analysis and breakdown of upcoming UFC main card. First event that we're going to preview is UFC 226, Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic in the main event. All right, I appreciate everyone joining me. Hopefully I don't fuck this up too bad, and I can at least give a decent video for my first go around. So we're gonna start the way that this is gonna work at first, at least for a while, is I'm only gonna do the main cards for UFC events, and may not be every single one. I'm gonna try to do every single one, but if only time will permit. So we're going to start today with the main card of UFC 226. So the first fight is Gokhan Saki versus Khalil Roundtree. So this fight, everyone thinks that this is going to be, super exciting, rock'em sock'em robot type fight until one of these guys goes down, and it's going to be an exciting fight for sure. I definitely think it's going to deliver more in ways than probably like the Francis Ngannou Derek Lewis fight's going to deliver. For sure, I think that there's going to be a knockout, and really what it boils down to is Gokhan Saki is just way more experience of a striker than Khalil Roundtree, and Roundtree, he's he doesn't know what he's doing all the time. He's an MMA fighter that doesn't really utilize anything other than striking. I don't think we've ever seen much of any real takedowns, no chain wrestling. It would be smart for him to at least try to implement some of that in this fight against Saki, but I really think there's no chance that he does that whatsoever. He doesn't seem to be that intelligent of a fighter, whereas Gokhan Saki is so far more experienced with his extensive kickboxing background. The way that I see the fight going is yeah, Roundtree's probably going to immediately try to get after him, like he does, because he basically has half a round to a round of gas tank, and he's going to come out throwing everything he can, trying to put Saki away. Roundtree is very athletic. He's explosive. He's got some natural talents. Definitely physically talented, for sure, in almost all areas. That's why a lot of people think that there's, some promise there. Like maybe he's a prospect. Maybe he'll develop into something. We'll see. Matchups like this are probably not good for him in his development. But I really see him coming out, going balls to the wall for the first few minutes, throwing looping punches like he likes to do. He doesn't set up his strikes very well. Everything has power. Every single shot that he throws is like 100% power. His combinations, when he does throw combinations, are very loose. He just, you could tell that he doesn't have a lot of experience, for sure. And then once he punches himself out, he's going to fade. Like after 2 or 3 minutes, if he doesn't get that knockout, which I don't think he will, he's going to drop off significantly, and Saki's going to just put his lights out. I mean, Roundtree, he does kick well. He's got fast kicks. He kicks well to the body. He doesn't do a lot of mixing up of punches and kicks together. It's more of he's kicking, and then he'll switch just to punches. And he has no defense when he's offensive. So when he's on the attack and when anyone goes to counter him, he really does not have much defense as he's moving forward. He's very susceptible to getting countered, and that's how I see this fight ending. Is Roundtree probably trying to pressure, throwing a lot of heat, maybe even hurting Saki for a second, and then similar to Gokhan Saki, the way that he finished his first UFC fight, he kind of got backed up against the cage a little bit, was experienced in being able to cover up, block against shots as they're coming in, and then have really good eyesight and be able to return fire right at that right moment. And Gokhan Saki has good punch selection. I mean, the experience is just ridiculous. He's gonna counter Roundtree and put him out. Gokhan Saki, he's also a fast puncher, kicks really well. He can switch stances. He likes to, lead in with his left, and then he can throw the right and then switch over and then go into southpaw stance, and then he can throw the overhand left and then switch back and then left jab. And so he's really good at switching stances. If he's moving forward, if Roundtree, gives him time and space to work, it's probably even going to be worse. I mean, when it just comes down to it, this is Gokhan Saki's fight to lose, I think. And it's going to be a knockout, probably either towards the end of the first round or midway through the second round for Gokhan Saki. All right, next fight up is Michael Chiesa versus Anthony Pettis. Michael Chiesa today weighed in and he was overweight. I don't think that the weight cut's going to affect the way that the outcome of this fight's going to go. Michael Chiesa cuts a lot of weight for all his fights, which finally it caught up to him, and he couldn't make the mark this time, but I don't think it's going to play a factor. I mean, and this is like nightmare matchup for Pettis. Powerful, strong grappler who can pressure, is relentless, super tough. Basically Anthony Pettis' kryptonite. Anthony Pettis, his kicks will be there for a short while, while they're spaced and they're on the feet. But the fight's not going to be there long enough for it to really make a difference. He used to have that powerful kick to the body, the ones that hurt Benson Henderson before it led to the ultimate submission. Kicks to the body to Don Cerrone. But he doesn't seem to be as powerful anymore these days, and his ability to also take damage seems to be a little lacking as well. Like overall, he's just kind of wearing down and becoming less of himself, unfortunately, as talented as Pettis is. Michael Chiesa is a huge lightweight. He's just going to move forward. He's going to take and eat whatever Anthony has to dish out for the short amount of time it's going to take for him to close the distance. He's going to push Pettis against the fence, grab onto him, drag him down to the mat. And yes, Pettis has a slick grappling game, and we saw that his grappling is still very sharp. He, did really well in the grappling exchanges against Dustin Poirier. If it wasn't for all the blood in that fight, Pettis may have been able to threaten a little bit more with some of the submissions that he attacked Poirier with. I mean, it was very, very fun and competitive back and forth, scrambling on the ground between Pettis and Poirier. So I don't think necessarily that Chiesa is just going to take him down and sub him out. Um, I do think that Pettis is probably good enough and tough enough to survive over 3 rounds of this fight, but it's going to be just a brutal, nasty Chiesa taking him down, controlling him, Pettis trying to scramble, maybe getting back to his feet briefly, occasionally getting drugged back down, controlled. Chiesa's going to take the back. I mean, I can't rule out some last minute, out of nowhere Pettis submission. But I definitely think it's more likely that Chiesa is going to get that kind of submission than Pettis at this point. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a mauling. All right, next fight up on the card is Paul Felder versus Mike Perry. And this fight was going to take place on the prelims. And Felder is a short notice replacement for Yancy Medeiros, and this is a good fight. It's gonna be a fun fight. I think a lot of people are excited about it, which is why they moved it up to the pay-per-view portion of the fight card. I don't think it's gonna go like a lot of people think it's gonna go. Felder, I believe, is the betting favorite as of this point, and a lot of people that I see online and other analysts and so on are picking Felder to win this, but I don't think Paul Felder is going to win this matchup. The main reason is he'll get himself backed up against the cage, and Mike Perry, he really likes the pressure, and he's actually naturally pretty good at pressuring, although sometimes he can get caught following somebody who's really good on their feet and doesn't get caught up against the fence, can actually lead Mike Perry into traps as he's pressuring forward. But Paul Felder, I don't really see doing that. He doesn't really display that. Like I said, he gets himself trapped against the cage. I see Mike Perry pressuring forward, maybe eating some leg kicks, couple jabs coming in, some straight punches. But I mean, Perry's still tough. I mean, he did get, he has gotten a little bit more hurt the last couple of fights against Ponzinibbio and against Griffin, but I don't think that Paul Felder has that power to be able to put him out, especially on the counter as Perry's coming in. And then once it gets up against the cage, Perry, he's quick, he hits hard. Everyone knows he hits hard. He's got decent shot selection. He's good with the uppercuts. I think he's going to pin Felder to the fence and work him over. It could be a hard-fought decision, maybe a little bit back and forth if Felder, can figure out how to get off the fence. He can be decent in the clinch, but typically just in small bursts. It's not like he's very controlling in the clinch himself. And even though Paul Felder stands a little taller and he's big as a lightweight, so moving up, he's going to look like he fits in at welterweight, Mike Perry is strong for his size at welterweight, and I do think that Perry's still going to have the strength advantage, especially being acclimated to the weight class. This has been his weight class all along. I think that he's going to have the strength and the power advantage, and I think ultimately he's just going to be a little bit too much against the fence in this fight for Felder, and I don't think Felder's going to get it done. So Mike Perry most likely. I mean, Paul Felder's super tough. I don't think that he's going to get knocked out, although I wouldn't rule it out completely. Perry's got knockout power, but I think he'll weather the storm and get worked in the clinch and against the fence. and Mike Perry probably by unanimous decision. All right, next fight up, we have Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis, and I'm excited for this fight. I mean, who doesn't get excited for a heavyweight fight with two guys who just like to knock people out and who are really good at it? So, I think what people are missing though in this fight is both guys like to kind of wait for their opponents to see what they're going to do and wait to counter. Um, Derek Lewis has especially got better at this over his career, especially once he's moved on to, main event fights that, go a little longer. He is even more patient. He doesn't have the luxury in this one, which might kind of play against him. But, yeah, I mean, he's really, really good at just sitting back, waiting for that time to just blast into something. Ngannou is a little bit better at making something happen if he wants to, but still he likes to kind of sit back, wait, and then explode into something as well. Ngannou's faster than Lewis, although Lewis's speed is surprising, almost kind of in a Mark Hunt sort of way, whereas you wouldn't think that a big overweight guy can cover ground so quickly, and Derek Lewis definitely has a bit of that as well. But the speed advantage for sure is with Ngannou. I mean, the way he uncorked that uppercut from hell and put Overeem out, I mean, that punch was just so lightning fast. I mean, he's way quick with the punches, and if he's putting combinations together against Lewis doesn't have the best defense, and that's going to be a problem. I think, people might be a little bit disappointed. I mean, I think there's a decent shot that this fight ends up going all 3 rounds, and people end up not being all that thrilled with the way it went, with a little bit of action and not a lot of punches thrown in each round. Everything in my analysis says that Francis Ngannou is probably the pick here. Punches just as hard as Lewis, if not maybe a little harder, hard to tell. Got the speed advantage. Yeah, I mean, outside of that, these guys are very, very similar. But I just feel like the patience is even more great with Lewis, and Ngannou might be out to prove something a little bit more after that Miocic loss. That I don't know. I get this feeling like maybe he's gonna come out and try to prove a point. Like, I don't know. Maybe he's gonna try to come out and prove like he can wrestle, because wrestling was a weakness against Miocic. So maybe he's gonna come out and try to show something different, or maybe he's gonna try to push the pace and move forward and try to put it on Lewis. I can see, for some reason, I get this feeling that we're going to see Francis Ngannou try to do something different. Like he took this loss and now he's going to try to reinvent himself to some degree and show us all something new that he's been working on. And Derek Lewis is going to just Derek Lewis, and he's going to sit back and wait to that moment where he thinks that it's going to happen for him and he's going to get the knockout, or he's going to hurt you really bad, or he's going to, just explode into some, weird takedown that works and just takes you right off your feet. Although I don't think he's going to try to take Ngannou down. I doubt we'll see any sort of takedown attempt from Lewis in this fight, but I just get the feeling that his patience here and Ngannou maybe trying to do something different and prove a point is ultimately going to lead to Ngannou walking into that explosive knockout shot, and Lewis is going to end up getting it done. and he's going to knock out Francis Ngannou. And if that doesn't happen, I think Ngannou's probably better fit to win a decision. But I think Lewis is going to get it done, shock everyone, and put Ngannou out. So that's my pick. It's not a whole lot of analysis because we haven't seen something new from Ngannou. But I just get this weird feeling it's not very sound analysis for this one. Normally I'll pick from my head and from what I've already seen, but I just have this feeling, it's more of a gut pick, unfortunately, but I have a feeling that we're going to see something different from Ngannou, and it's going to be his downfall. All right. So the last fight, the main event, the title fight, Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier, the one we're all looking forward to. I'm not like some unique person taking the pick of Daniel Cormier here. I see a lot of other fighters picking Cormier. I think he's still the underdog. I am picking Daniel Cormier to win, but like everyone else, in their thinking, this could be either man's fights, but it's really the tale of two fights most likely. One being that Daniel Cormier pressures like he does in all his fights, works to pressure Miocic, and in pressuring him, gets caught with a counter in mid-range, gets hurt, and then Miocic puts his lights out. It's probably more likely to happen in the first couple of rounds, and if this fight gets to third and fourth and fifth, Cormier is probably going to start really taking over, because if he gets that far, it means that his pressure has been working to some degree. So either Miocic is going to find the spot to counter and get his shots off and hurt Cormier and finish him, or Daniel Cormier, over the course of time, is going to press forward, pin Miocic against the cage, work for takedowns, physically tire Miocic out, and ultimately win a decision. I don't think Cormier will get a finish here. Miocic is ridiculously tough and has only been finished once in his career early on. And really, I think it was just because he was so gassed out from inexperience. I don't see that happening. I do think Daniel Cormier is going to be successful mixing up his takedowns, chaining his takedown attempts. He doesn't get discouraged when he fails on a takedown, like ever. He has so many years built in from his wrestling that, he's going to go for a snatch single and it's not going to work, and then he's going to go for a body lock and it's not going to work, and he's going to let it go, and then he's going to throw off a few punches, and then he's going to press you to the fence, and then once you're to the fence, he's going to press into you and go for a double or go for another single, and then he'll let it go, throw some more punches, hold you, put all his body weight on you and grab onto you and pull you, like hang on you to just make you feel all his weight. And him being the shorter, heavier guy actually in this contest, which is kind of weird to say because he's the challenger coming up a weight class, but he actually weighed in heavier, so he's going to be the heavier guy in there. Him being shorter, if he's able to kind of get his weight down while he's holding on Miocic, it's really going to wear him out. And if he can pin him to the cage even for 20-30 seconds at a time and make Miocic carry his weight, Miocic is going to get tired. And I definitely don't think that he's got the stamina and endurance that Cormier has, especially Cormier at heavyweight, to usually is even better. Um, he's always been well conditioned though to go 5 rounds. Um, yeah, I think he'll probably take some hard shots. He may even get hurt. You know, maybe even drop once. Cormier's still tough. You know, he's gotten hurt a few times in his last few fights, but he can still take a punch. I think maybe, lack of a weight cut will help that to some degree. He won't be depleted. Yeah, I think he's gonna come forward. He's still quick with his hands. You know, he throws fast combinations. He kicks pretty well. I think, if he wants to have success at the times where they are maybe at long range before he closes in, because Cormier, he isn't like a stupid relentless pressure fighter. He is typically trying to walk you down and go forward, but there's plenty of time where he's not, at mid or closed all the way in. He's not at mid range or in. He can hang on the outside. For a guy who's typically smaller, or, shorter, and has less of a reach than a lot of his opponents. He actually can still fight long pretty well. He's pretty good with his kicks. He has like a lunging, almost like a fencing type, a hook that he likes to throw out there. He'll pop in with it. He's good at timing that. He's got a decent jab he'll throw out there. Not too great, but it's all right. It's functional for what he likes to do. He usually, when he starts a jab, he likes to start to really. That's when he's going to move in to close the distance. Yeah, I think his striking at long range and mid range is going to be good enough to get in, and Miocic isn't going to have the success often enough with his punches on the counter, or even, I mean, Miocic would probably be smart to, and if I were game planning for him, I would say you need to pressure back, you need to move forward, you can't let Daniel Cormier back you up, push you to the fence. You need to try to work your own takedowns, even if you're not going to get them, and you need to get Daniel Cormier to work some of his defense, because Cormier gets better as he builds momentum, and Miocic needs to not let that happen. But I just don't see him being able to maintain that sort of game plan. And if he does come in with a game plan and it doesn't start to work, I don't think that's going to go well for him. I think Miocic kind of has a set plan. He's good at executing that plan, and that's it. Daniel Cormier is a bit more adaptive. And I just think he's going to get it done, probably by unanimous decision. I don't think that it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be like super close, one way or another. Like if Stipe is going to win, I think he's going to win by KO. If Cormier is going to win, he's probably, going to win most of the rounds. Maybe he'll drop a round. Maybe he'll drop a 2 rounds if he, gets hurt and recovers in those rounds. Maybe he'll give them to Miocic, but I think Cormier is his game, the pressure, the pace is going to be too much. And you're talking about an elite level wrestler. Stipe Miocic is a good wrestler, a very good wrestler, but he's not elite. He's very good, but he's not elite. And who was the last wrestler that Stipe Miocic fought? Think about that. Who was the last wrestler that tried to wrestle him? He doesn't really have a history of fighting wrestlers, and that isn't to say that he isn't good against a really good wrestler, but it's a matchup that we haven't really seen from him, and I gotta think that the inexperience in the cage is probably going to be a bad thing for him. So yeah, Stipe Miocic is not going to be and still in this one. He's going to lose that strap, and we're going to see a new champ and one of the greatest ever get it done and set up maybe that, third John Jones fight. We will see. All right, that is it. That's all the fights on the main card. Thank you guys so much for joining me on my first breakdown here, and this was like this was entry level. I guess we can only get better from here. So yeah, just stick with me, guys. We'll make this thing better. I hope you guys had fun, and thanks for watching. All right.